Hello everyone, my name is Andrew Wang, and today we're going to be going through all the solutions to all the questions for elementary school round 154 of the Prairie Math League. So let's get started. So first question is, Veronica has 6 marks on her report card. The mean of the 6 marks is 74. The mode of the 6 marks is 76. The median of the 6 marks is 76. The lowest mark is 50. And the highest mark is 94. So only one mark appears twice and no mark appears more than twice. So assuming all of her marks are integers, the number of possibilities for her second lowest mark is, and then we have options. So what we're first going to do is we're going to list out all the things we know. So we know the mean of the 6 marks is 74, but we can take that into account later. So the mode, which means the number that appears the most in a certain list, is 76. That means, and since no number appears more than twice, we know that 76 appears twice. We also know the highest mark is 94 and the lowest mark is 50. So we kind of have an outline here. We're going to put M as the second lowest mark. I'm going to put N as the second highest mark. So once we know these, we can sort of figure out the pattern between M and N. So since the mean of the 6 marks is 74, that means it's the average. So there's going to be not numbers below the average, and then so to find the average, we know that it's 50 plus M plus 76 plus 76 plus N plus 94, and all of that divided by 6 should give us, so it should give us 74, since that is the mean. So we just reverse it, and you end up getting, you actually solve this equation, you move the divide by 6 to the other side, so you end up getting M plus N equals 148. And you will get that M equals 148 minus N. So now we know the pattern between M and N. And since when we look back at the question, we're assuming that all the marks are, since the median, the 6 marks is also 76. That means we know the two medians, 76 and 76, are in the middle of the list. So that is why we know M and N are the second largest and second smallest numbers in this list. So since we know it has to be between 50 and 76, between 51 and 75, we can actually move this up. So for when M is between 51 and 75, that's a possibility for M, and then N could be between any number between 77 and 93. So there are actually 17 different possibilities for N. And when we take the largest value of M, that means we're going to be taking the smallest value of N. So let's say over here in this equation, we're going to place it with, let me just copy it down. If we put 77, that'll give us the largest N value, and the M will equal 71, should equal 71. And then when we put the largest N value, which is 93, we put M equals 148 minus 93. That gives us around, I'm pretty sure 55. So yeah, that gives us 55. So this now tells us the M range, given the 17 possibilities for N. So when N is the smallest, M will be the largest. And when N is the largest of these 17 possibilities, so when N is 93, that gives us the smallest possible M value. So M, we have a new range, has to be between 55 and 71. So between 55 and 71, if you actually list them out, you will get 17 possibilities in total for M, which is the second smallest mark. So M has 17 possibilities, and the answer is let me just say, the answer is A, I believe. Yeah. So the answer to the first question, is A. Let's move on to the next question. So next question. A palindrome is a positive integer whose digits are the same when read forwards or backwards. For example, 2002 is a palindrome. What is the smallest number? What is the smallest number which can be added to 2002 to produce a larger palindrome? So basically, 2002, the next largest palindrome should follow this format: 2 AA 2. Since we know it's 4 digits, that means it has to be AA and the outer ones have to be 2. So since it's at 2002, A, let's see what happens if A is 1. A is 1. If A is 1, we get 2, 1, 1, 2. And anything we do after that, 2, 2, 2, 2, will be further from 2002. So 2112 will actually be the closest we can get to 2002. So now we find now we can subtract these two to get the difference. So 2112 minus 2002, that will give us 110. So the answer to question 2 is 110. So it is B. Let's move on to question 3. So question 3, Chantel had 2 candles, one of which was 32 centimeters longer than the other. She lit the longer one at 3 p.m. and lit the shorter one at 7 p.m. At 9 p.m. They were both the same length. The longer one was completely burned out at 10 p.m. and the shorter one was completely burned at midnight. The 2 candles burned at different from each other, but constant rates. So what was the sum of the original lengths of the 2 candles? So at 9 p.m., we know they were both the same length. And then longer candle, we know the longer candle longer one was completely burned out at 10 p.m. and the shorter one was completely burned at midnight. So we can use X to represent the speed of them burning. So X centimeters per hour. So we're gonna suppose the shorter one burned at a speed of X centimeters per hour. That means the longer one, because the shorter one took 3 hours to burn, the longer one burned up in 1 hour. That means the longer one burned 3 times as fast. So 3 times X, okay, 3 times X centimeters per hour. So now we know the speeds of these two. So from its lighting from at 3 p.m. to 9 p.m., the longer candle burned for 6 hours. So it burned six times 6 times 3x. To burn for 6 times 3x, which is 18x. So for the longer one, it burned 18x centimeters of the candle. Now for the shorter one, it was only lit for 2 hours. So 2 times, since it burned x centimeters per hour, we know it burned for 2 hours. So it would be 2x would be how long the shorter one was burnt for. Now we also know the longer candle, when it started out, it was 32 centimeters longer than the other. So when we look at these two values, 18x and 2x, 2x was how long this candle was. And it's also the amount, how much it burned off. That means this and this were how long the long candle and the short candle originally were. So 2x plus 32 will equal 18x, since it was 32 centimeters shorter. If we move it to the other side, we get 32 equals 16x, and x equals 2. So we now know what x is, which is the speed at which it burned, 2 centimeters per hour. So when we look at the longer candle burned from 3 p.m. to 10 p.m. So it burned for the shorter candle burned for 5 hours, 5 hours total. So it burned 5 hours at 2 centimeters per hour. At 2 centimeters per hour. So it burned 10 centimeters. Now the longer one burned for 7 hours at 6 centimeters per hour. So it burned for 42 centimeters. So these two would be the lengths of the original candle. So the original length of the longer candle was 42 centimeters. Initial length was 42 centimeters. And the initial length of the shorter candle was 10 centimeters. And you can sort of see there's a difference of 32. So the question asks for the sum of the original lengths of the two candles. So we have 10 plus 42, which equals 52. So the answer is 52. That means the answer to question 3 is E. So let's move on to question 4. So question 4, a piece of string fits exactly once around the perimeter of a square whose area is 144. Round into the nearest whole number, the area of the largest circle that can be formed from the piece of string is? Okay, so when we look at this question, we know the area of a square is 144. So we'll set S equals side length of square. and we'll use R as radius of circle, and you'll see why we need it in a minute. So we know that S squared is equal to 144. S squared is equal to 144 because the area of a square is base times height. And since the base equals the height, it's just the square. So S equals 12. So the side length of the square, the side length of the square is 12. That means the perimeter, since there's 4 sides in a square, and each side is 12, that means the perimeter is 12 times 4, which equals 48. So now we know the length of the string is 48 centimeters. So now we're trying to find the largest circle that can be formed with a piece of string. So since the string will be surrounding the circle, that means the circumference of this circle will equal 48. And circumference, you can calculate circumference. You can calculate, sorry, I'm just getting the pi symbol here. You can calculate circumference by multiplying the radius by 2. So it'll be 2 pi r, which equals 48. And that gives us r equals around 7.64 if the circumference was 48. So the maximum radius of the circle, so the radius of a circle with circumference 48 is 7.64. So that is what now where we use the R. So we'll go back to 16. Now we need to calculate the area of the largest circle. So the area of the circle, we can calculate an area of the circle by doing pi r squared. So pi r squared. Pi r squared. So now, since we know the radius is 7.64, we can just plug it in. So pi times pi r squared, you will find once you calculate, usually simplify the pi to 3.14, but if you have a calculator, it will simplify the pi after you square the radius, and that will give you an answer of 183. So the largest area of the largest circle that can be formed from the piece of string used on the square is 183. So the answer is E. Answer to question 4 is E. Let's move on to question 5. So question 5, a jar contains quarters worth 25 cents each, nickels worth 5 cents each, and pennies worth 1 cent each. The value of the quarters is $10. The value of the nickels is $10. The value of the pennies is $10. If Judith randomly chooses one coin from the jar, what is the probability that is a quarter? So first, let's look at the quarters. So the value of the quarters is $10, and since 1 quarter is worth 0.25, we will do 10 divided by 0.25, and that will give you 40 quarters in the jar. Now for what is it? Nickels, we do the same thing. So the value of nickels is $10, so we're gonna do 10 divided by the value of 1 nickel, which is 0.05, and that will tell us how many nickels there are. So 10 divided by 0.05 will give you 200 nickels. And finally, pennies. So the value of pennies is 1 penny is 0.01, and the total of value in that jar is $10. So once again, 10 divided by 0.01, which will give you 1,000 pennies. So now it actually asks you if Judith randomly chooses one coin from the jar. So since we know these are all the jar coins, different types of coins in the jar, we can add them up. So 1,000 plus 200 plus 40, 7 plus 200 plus 40 will give you 1,240 coins in the jar. So if Judith randomly chooses one coin from the jar, what is the probability that's a quarter? So these are all the coins and the plus, and there are 40 quarters. So out of the 1,240, there are only 40 quarters. So 40 out of 1,240 total coins are quarters. So this is the probability, but this can actually be simplified because as you look at the answers, you won't actually see 40 and 1,240. So we can simplify this. We divide both sides by 40 and we get 1 to 31. So the probability of getting a quarter from this jar is 1 over 31. So the answer is B. So the answer to question 5 is B. So let's move on to question 6 now. So question 6, the product of 4 different positive integers is 360. Was the maximum possible sum of these 4 integers? So in order for a sum to be maximum, we have to choose the 3 smallest divisors for in effort to make the 4th divisor as large as possible. So when we're talking about 360, the smallest 3 divisors are 1, 2, 3. And if you want to make 4 numbers as a product of 360, with the first numbers being 1, 2, 3, the largest one you can get is 60. And so you add the sum. So sum of these numbers will be 66. And now this rule applies because we have to recognize that the product of 3 different positive integers is always greater or equal to the sum of the 3 integers. So for example, let's use 1, 2, 1, 2, and 4. So 1 times 2 times 4 equals 8. But 1 plus 2 plus 4 will be less than the product of these 3 numbers, which is 7. So now we know this rule. The next largest divisor of 360 that is not 60 will be 45. So now if we try that like 1, 2, and 4 example, and we use 45 there, because 45 times 8 will give you 360. Now let's look at the sum of this product. Because these 4 numbers also work, but do they give you the largest sum when you add them together? So let's find out. So 45 plus 7, that will be 50. 45 plus 7 will give you, actually should give you 52. So for 1, 2, and 4, 45 plus 7 is 52. So as you can see, that is pretty much significantly less than the sum of 1, 2, 3, and 60. So this further explains the rules that in order to have a larger sum, your first 3 numbers have to be the smallest possible divisors for this product. So the maximum possible sum of these 4 integers is the ones made up with the numbers 1, 2, 3, and 60. So the sum is 66 and the answer is B. And so that is all the questions for this week. All 6 of them. The answers are right here. So the answer to question 1 is A, question 2, B, question 3, E, question 4, E, question 5, B, and question 6, B. So yeah, that's going to be it for today. The date today is November 5th, 2023. These are all 6 solutions to the Prairie Math League Elementary School Round 154. My name is Andrew Wang, and thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video.